Hey, good morning. I'm here today to talk to you about another life skill for teenagers. Actually, for kids, but really for teenagers because they're going to start having part-time jobs. And as soon as they turn 18, they're going to have to start doing some of these things on their own, whether they have a job or not. I will link to a blog post below about when your teen turns 18 because there are so many things that I wasn't aware of when my first teen turned 18. And I think you will be surprised by what you're going to need to know. Hi, I'm Melanie from Parenting High Schoolers, and I'm here today to help you raise a great teen. And today we're going to talk about using the telephone. When we think about using the telephone way back when, it looked a lot different, but our teens still need to have those skills. How to answer a phone, how to leave a message, how to make an appointment. And these are all things that in general, they probably don't know how to do because they don't call each other. They snap or they text or, God forbid they make an actual phone call. So I'm here today to give you some tips on A, why they need to have this skill, and B, what you need to teach them. It's not hard, and there's about 3 or 4 basic things that they need to know. First of all, why do they need to know how to make a call? Well, first of all, when they turn 18, they're going to have to start making their own appointments. They are going to have to be able to leave a message if the office isn't open. They may get a job where they're going to need to have some phone skills. These are all good things to know. Now, basic skills, how to politely answer a phone call and how to politely make a phone call. Really, it boils down to if they get a job, they're going to have to ask, is there a script that they need to follow? But really, they need to be able to say, hello, this is Melanie Studer. How can I help you today? Depending on what the situation is. Also, they need to be able to take a message. They are at your house or at a place of business. They need to be able to know that they need paper and pencil. They need to take the caller's name, note what the date and time were. What exactly is this caller wanting to know? Are they just wanting a call back? Do they have a specific question they need to know to write that specific question down? They can't just say, caller had a question. Okay, well, we need to know who was that caller, when did they call exactly, and at what time, when, what day, what was the exact question? Do they want a call back? Do they want an email back? Did you need to get their email? Whatever specifics they need, a business will probably tell them, but this is something that maybe they could practice with you. And I'll get into that in a minute. Okay, they need to be polite and upbeat, not just yeah, or I got it, or, this is a time for them to actually use really good manners. May I help you today? Thank you for calling. Just pretty simple, standard politeness. But again, they will need to be able to incorporate this into a conversation. So again, this will be a place where you can role play. And again, I'll talk about that in a minute. By the way, if you like my tips to help raise your teen, could you like my video below and give me a thumbs up? And I would love for you to subscribe to my channel. Anyway, moving on. Do not, or tell your teen, do not eat, drink, or chew gum when they are on the phone. First of all, whatever they're doing in the phone on the other end will be amplified into that person's ear. So that sounds kind of gross. And also it's really hard to understand someone when they have something in their mouth, such as liquid, food, or gum. So no on that. They need to know how to leave a message. Let's say they are starting to make their own appointments, or they're trying to find out information about insurance or whatever. They need to know to leave their own name, the time they called and the date, what it is exactly they need to know, and how is this person supposed to get back in touch with them. They need to know to leave their own phone number and or an email, however, they want to be reached back. And to give a range, like if they know they are available during a certain time, like I will be available to answer a phone call between 2 and 4 tomorrow. They should be able to leave that information as well. Okay, if at work, back to that. If they get a job where they're going to have to answer the phone, and this may happen, like I know my son worked in a kitchen washing dishes, but there were a couple of times where he actually had to answer the phone because it was a rush and the people out front were either cooking or serving, so he could pull his hands out, dry them off, and take a message. He needed to know what were all those details that I talked about previously. Just because your kid is doing some sort of menial labor somewhere, like washing dishes, they still may have to use these skills. So these are something that need to be practiced. Okay, how to practice. Role play is awesome. And yes, it will seem silly and your kid will be rolling their eyes and, I don't want to do that. Well, here's the thing. It's going to be a skill that they need to know and they need to practice. First of all, you can be the person, and you guys can just hold pretend phones, like your hand, and, call and say, have your child be the caller and say they're calling to make their first doctor's appointment. And I had to do this with both of my older boys when they first started having to do this. Here's the thing, when they turn 18, you can make their appointments for them. But if something changes, like I know once I made an appointment for one of my boys, and then I called back to change it, and they were like, I'm sorry, we can't talk to you about that. I'm like, I called you yesterday and made this appointment. Like, yes, you can make the appointment, but you can't, like, anything further is on your child. And my son did not want to call them back. And I said, you have to, you can't go to that appointment. We had to practice a little bit. So I pretended like I was the doctor's office, and he called and I said, hello, this is, Dr. So-and-so, how can I help you? So we talked through what they were going to ask him. And then he was fine. I said, I'll sit right here beside you. You call them. And if there's something they ask that you aren't sure about, I'll be right here. And another just side item, they'll need to start carrying their own insurance card too once they turn 18, because they're probably going to be going to the doctor's office without you. I pretty much had weaned off going with them. When they were first 16 and could drive themselves, I still went and sat in the waiting room. But I have boys, so girls may be a little bit different, but you need to be ready to sort of hand over the reins of all that kind of healthcare stuff gradually. So by the time they are 18 and it's all on them, 99% of it's on them, they're ready to go. Okay, also you could, if they are getting ready to have a job, or this is a skill that you want them to have before they start working, you need to role play both sides of the phone call. That you're somebody calling in and they take a message and you check it and make sure they got all the information. And then vice versa, that maybe they're another business and your child is having to call, and sort of how that might go. And just the more they can kind of practice, the better. And I went so far as to, when our one son got a job that was going to be in an office, I had a couple of my friends, and we had scheduled this and my son knew it was going to happen. They called and pretended like they were a client. And so he kind of got used to, and it was somebody he was comfortable with. So they went through this role playing, but when he started the job, he didn't even have to answer a phone for like 6 months, but he knew he could do it. All of this is to say that knowing how to use the telephone as a tool, both to make calls, to leave messages, and to receive calls, and to take down messages, are really important life skills, because eventually they're going to have to take over all the things that you were doing for them anyway, or how to find a phone number. That's another thing, or a website. Most of them are pretty good at that. So just make sure that your child is ready for this life skill as they move on into a job, into making their own appointments. And really, once they leave your house, like when they go to college, these are some things they really kind of need to know how to do. Maybe maybe they need to call a friend's parent and ask a question. I can't imagine what it would be, but that's a possibility. There you go. There's your life skill for the week, and it is making and using the phone. Subscribe below and like my video. Thanks a lot.